lost. I've lost it since I lost them. I do not know what's next, but I know I want to protect these people. And I want to feel the magic again.
And you feel and hear this inhale, just air moving all around you, just pulling at you, pulling at every fiber of your being. And then again, the voices say,
"We will help, daughter of magic.
"What will you give us?"
Will you accept the memory?
We have your memories. We have your thoughts. We have your desires. Will you give us you?"
Yes.
And then you feel, unlike anything you've ever felt in this colorful place, you feel a rush of power. You feel a rush of magic. But it doesn't feel like it comes from outside you. It feels like something inside you has cracked open and is just flooding every part of you. And it feels like it moves from your extremities all the way up to your mind, and you have 1,000 different flashes. You have 1,000 different thoughts, 1,000 different memories, 1,000 different reasons for everything in all of creation. And for one blessed blinding moment, you can see your gods. You can see all of them arranged together. And they turn, and you see that symbol of the Merchants Guild. Except it looks different. It looks reverent. It looks like it's being worshipped. And then your head starts to hurt. And it's this splitting headache like nothing you've ever had before. And it moves throughout your entire head until it's centered in the direct middle of your forehead. And you are knocked out of this space.
Safina's just gonna look at her tea and then look at Anchor and be like,
what did we see? Like, what was happening while...
You saw her lift her hands up, and you saw the flames go up and spark a little purple, spark a little gold, because she was just pouring magic into it. And then she remained with her hands up, and her eyes kind of rolled back in her head. And you would be familiar, and honestly, all of you would be...
role play this physically for us.
all of you would be familiar with this because you come from different places where people do meditate and, go into these trances, and she's definitely in,
Sounds just
some kind
here we
of...
go.
she's in some kind of trance right now. And she stays that way... She doesn't stay that way for super long. She stays that way for probably an hour, though. Which would feel like a real weird passage of time for her. So,
shit.
yeah. But then after that hour, her hands kind of fall back.
Would
Yeah.
we,
It's-
would Tamsin, would that have been something he experienced?
Oh no,
Okay.
not ever.
I just didn't know, being from, Africa.
Oh no. Mm-mm.
so you come out of it and
Just kind of gasp out. And now things do look a little weird for you right now. The depth perception is a little skewed. Your head's kind of a little foggy, and it's taking you a minute to focus on anything that you're looking at.
Safina's gonna
shit.
super curl up and toss the rest of her tea out.
Now, when she came out of it or before?
It would have started like halfway through, but it didn't do anything.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, she
Gotcha.
just like tosses the tea out and is like, everything is fine. Maybe just flat, mirror me and just maybe just a little of this. You wanna try that for me?
Ira,
Do
did
you?
you
Are you?
did you have a spiritual encounter there?
I believe I did.
You're not
Are you
even.
feeling
She's
alright?
not. She's not 100% with you guys. I'm not gonna lie. Like she's definitely. That was a lot for more than one reason. So she's like sort of kind of there, but not all the way.
So
Would
maybe just gonna
Tenzin be
pick up
used to
your
people being
hand
in
and like
trances
flat
that
palm
long or longer?
your
Yeah,
forehead.
So for him, that's not that weird.
No,
That's but
no,
it's the
yeah,
revel.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
There. I picked up Ingrad's hand and I gently flat palmed her own forehead with her own hand.
Part of your vision kind of goes blurry, and you feel something blinking under your hand.
Has that always been there?
How the fuck are we going to go through life with the Cyclops?
She's gonna be like, my beautiful head. We're gonna have
Is
to get her
it a
headscarf.
visual thing? Like, is there something they can see, or
That's why I tossed my
You
tea
might want
out.
to mirror.
You have an eye in the middle of your fucking forehead.
Oh my god, do you have like 3D vision now?
babe? 3D vision's
I'm just kidding. Come on, stay with the bit here.
Yes, and you have X-ray vision.
Safine's
I'm
hopped up
just
on
I'm
drugs
looking
right now.
around like
All
there's
three
a
of them.
lot that I can see now that I could not see before.
Yeah.
This is cool.
You also notice that looking at the others, they have a faint aura around them. You can see different colored auras around them.
Y'all, I am a permanent detect magic now. Oh my god. Okay.
Alright,
Tight.
well,
To
I'd like to point
understand,
out.
this doesn't understand anything, and you like there'd be no
The
no
only
like
thing,
reference
the
that
only
matter.
thing to you is living in Adgord. It reminds you of Alaneo's oracles, who have an eye tattooed on their foreheads.
Okay, that was what I was wondering because we haven't really. I really need to get that like
I
lore
thought
from
I
you.
sent that to you.
Your red hair
Well, we haven't
costume
sat down and
is
discussed all that
a
stuff.
lot more complicated.
So it's the oracles of.
Yeah, Alaneo. They tattoo an eye to the center of their forehead.
I'm not bitter or anything, but I would like to point out that I essentially got an emotionally scarring hair extension, and she got another eye.
Y'all think I'm finished?
Ooh.
Oops.
Okay. Shit.
We're gonna need to buy some liquid latex, dog.
Yeah.
Um.
I love that everyone is just
Tyson just puts his
staring.
hand like to his face and it's just like thinking because he thinks about that. He thinks about the oracles and the tattoo that they usually have. And he just keeps looking.
Safine is way too interested. It's just like,
Is it the same color as mine?
Yeah.
Same. Okay.
Yeah. It looks like your eyes.
I hope you like bangs.
Um.
Is there a certain god that they pray to?
They have many gods in
The
Adgord.
oracles.
They specifically pray to Alaneo.
Okay. Did you talk to Alaneo?
I talked to many.
Share with the class.
Do you
Now
need to rest?
I am more alive and well than I ever been. I cannot tell you exactly why. It is a visit. But you have opened my eyes.
All three.
Quite literally.
see the world in a completely new way. He kind of looks over towards Sakine for a second and like looks at everybody with their individual stuff. Remember's kind of dim, right? Like I would see Sakine more than remember.
Actually,
Alright.
no.
No.
Mm-mm. I didn't say what kind of aura it is.
Oh.
I do not know. I don't know. But it will happen.
Okay. Are y'all going to bed? Or are you?
I'm trying to think what, because, oh man, I really feel like I need to go back on to like the more
Everybody's
things.
just staring.
Because I'm like, that kind of be like a manifestation of like a true oracle. Before, like in Temzin's eyes, like
Yeah,
because the oracles are like, she's got a real oracle eye. She sees magic, so I feel like Tenzin would just kind of like just be staring, and then he would just like, as formally as possible, would just like give the most formal like full bow possible.
She kind of doesn't even really think about it and snaps to attention. She's been relaxed. She knows you guys. But she kind of snaps to attention. Because she's used to this. And nods back. She's aware of what this means. Oh, I don't know if y'all want to I don't know, share with the damn class, or if you want to keep doing your character development bullshit, because y'all seem to be the only ones doing that. I don't know if you want to I don't know, tell us what's going on. Nope, nobody feels like shit. Good,
So
good.
do you remember the stupid ones in this team, and we're like, what's happening?
Political intrigue. Who the fuck knows? I don't. You have a third eye. I think knowing what has happened and knowing that we might have a bit of an advantage now.
You're the only one who does.
What does
No,
that
I
even
mean-
mean?
I believe it might behoove us to talk to the key members in this zone.
I want to have an emotionally fulfilling field trip with Zuko.
I mean, I feel like remember growing a golden braid out of nowhere is pretty prominent.
You got your emotional reassurance shit. So did
Great.
It's not my fault you told all of us your backstory before we started.
Because I was excited. I like playing games with my friends.
I'm pretty sure everyone knows my backstory too.
Y'all think I'm done?
I guess we should go to sleep. See what she's gonna do.
Yeah.
Because that's what she asked us.
Speak to me in a dream, Phobos.
Lock me up, fam.
Yes, I find myself rather tired. I think I will.
Of course you will.
He
He says this audibly.
All right. I need everyone except remember to leave the table.
It's my turn to go on a field trip with Zuko!
So excited!
Right.
Sophia's just gonna complain about this into her wine glass. Like, I don't need you guys anyways.
Everyone else is having revelations.
This is why I drink.
Because
Tea,
she gets
that
crows.
is.
She gets crows.
All I get are crows.
Get
All you
burps.
poured out was tea.
Burps. I'm so excited.
Okay.
Give me the damage.
Hold on. Let me get the ambiance.
Oh no, there's ambiance.
Okay. So remember, heads up to bed. Heads up to her hammock. Closes the door, and how long does it take her to fall asleep?
Wow.
So she sits, does she pace, does she...
She probably ties knots. Like just little. The knot that you tie to pitch a tent, the knot that you tie to like rig a horse. Like she just practices knots on a little piece of twine.
She practices knots for a while. long after the rest of the house has fallen asleep. And every now and then, that little patch of her scalp burns, twinges, and Remember was kind of a reckless child. She was hardcore and wanted to prove herself, so she's not unfamiliar with what a burn feels like. So when she finally goes to bed, she thinks that it's that feeling of the burn that wakes her up. And there's a woman standing in her room. And it's a woman with long, blonde hair that falls all the way to the floor. And when she looks at Remember sleeping in her hammock, she smiles just a little bit.
Hello, Remember. Thank you for the feather.
And she kind of paces to the window, and you see the curtain move aside as she brushes it and glances out and looks around. And this whole time, she hasn't blinked. Her wide eyes have stayed open as she walks back and forth, carrying the faint scent of roses in her wake.
This is a dream.
No, this is no dream.
She sits up from the hammock. And it's just like one motion, her feet to the floor, and then she gets to her knees.
Remember. Oh, stand. Let me see how you've grown. So much bigger.
And she puts a hand underneath your chin and lifts you to your feet.
She says, come, turn from me. Let me see the beauty you've become.
She does this like really coarse laugh. And she's probably never twirled before. Like, she's always been gangly, and then when she stopped being gangly, she started being like kind of hulky.
Mhm.
So she does the most like jerky, unsteady circle, because that's what she was asked to do, but she's never done a twirl before, like in her life. And the word beautiful makes her laugh really, really hard. Like, that's just not.
And you're not laughing for very long before she's joining in with you. And she takes a step back, and it's like her hair moves on a wave, on a current that you can't see, and it doesn't tangle around your feet, even though it's touching the floor. It doesn't seem to be gathering dust or tangling in the knots you've tied or anything. And she steps back, and she looks over, and she says,
Yes, yes. You've become quite the fighter, haven't you?
and she cups your face, and she says,
I'm glad to see you have your eyes.
and then she looks sad for a minute. And she says,
If I asked you for your eyes, would you give them to me?
Yes.
If I asked you for anything, you would give it to me.
Yes.
she kind of nods, and she slowly circles you.
I need your eyes, remember, but not in the way that my sisters, people do. I need your eyes to see everything. I need you to stop looking for bleed in everything. I need you to see what I see.
And then she puts her palms on your face, and her touch is very soft, very cool. These are not hands who have worked a plow. These are not hands who have felt splinters or stone cracking underneath them. These are soft and tender hands. And they cover your face. And when she pulls her hands away, she still looks as beautiful as ever. But so does the rest of the room. Things feel a bit less unsettled. and it just feels a little more sure. And then she kind of clasps her hands in front of her and says, "Oh, I have a gift for you." And then she holds out her hands and opens them. And there, coiled up in her hand, is a very small blonde braid. And she takes your hand and places it in your hand and curls your fingers over it. Hope is always a good thing to have, remember. Do be a namesake, and remember that.
Can I ask you a question before you go?
Of course.
Did I do the right thing?
That is not for me to decide. You would have been called if you had stayed or you had gone. You just made the trip a little faster. I'm sorry I cannot ease your heart.
And then she guides you back to the hammock. This whole time, she hasn't blinked, not once. She helps you to lay down and smooths your hair back from your face.
One more thing, remember. You must listen. Listen well. Not everything hiding in the hills is evil.
And then she's gone. And you're still awake. And there's still the scent of roses lingering in the room. The curtain is still slightly pulled aside from where she moved it. But you're alone.
She's broken! It's
Yeah.
4 hours.
Get ready.
So did that happen while you were sleeping?
Not quite.
Well, I mean, like after everybody left, or did that happen while we were all still there?
It happened after everyone went to bed.
I would say when she was Sabine just laying outside.
Alright, so next morning, you hear John and Lacey and Jimmy like running around doing what they do in the mornings. You hear Jimmy yelling for like one of the cows that got out when it shouldn't have, probably because he left the gate open. You can smell a faint scent of breakfast.
Ah, smells
I grabbed.
good.
Can I search through the belongings that I brought with me? Did I bring any dark lace or gossamer?
What did I do with my water?
You probably would have stuff to repair like your clothes, so like you'd probably have a length of lace or something like that, yeah.
I'm thinking just something to form at least a little bit of a veil.
Mhm.
Not enough that I could still see, but not necessarily enough that anybody would notice anything wrong just looking at me kind
Yeah.
of off the bat.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, then I'm gonna do that.
Okay.
What, you're not gonna do the bangs around?
Does anybody want popcorn?
Sure.
Nothing.
Sure. Okay.
Okay, just so I'm not a hypocrite, when Remember comes down to breakfast,
Only for not hypocrisy.
that hypocrisy. When Remember comes down to breakfast, she picks up an apple and like smiles about it, and is looking at the silverware and is kind of like taking in the room and the fire, and she can hear Jimmy yelling, and like it's not very over the top, but she's just kind of like smiling more, which is weird because she's got like a bunch of scars and shit. Like she's all torn up, but she's like more present and like friendly. Like she looks nicer.
Wait, who else sitting down there?
It's Lacey would be in the kitchen. John is outside with Jimmy. And then if you guys have come down to breakfast, then
Yeah.
you guys.
Okay,
I'm
that's
really like
okay.
super curled up with my cup, looking over like.
I wanted to have Tenzin make a comment
What's
to
your shit?
somebody, but then I was like, that's not in Tenzin's.
That's okay. So she just like sits down with the like regular morning coffee and her like serving platter of like potatoes and ham and shit. I was visited last night.
By a gentleman?
She's skinny.
I don't even have.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Sabine. Just imagine Sabine looking up from her toast at Tenzin like, no.
But Sophia has no context for that, so just like her gator is just on point.
Sabine's
No take backs, I guess. Oh gosh.
I don't even have time to explain how wrong you are.
That's awkward.
I wasn't visited by the person I was expecting. I made my sacrifice last night, and do you know Sune? She looks different from the statues.
This is one different.
And like toying with the blonde hair.
Mm-hmm.
Not everything in the hills is bad. I don't know what that means, but
Not everything in what?
not everything in the hills is bad. I don't know what to use that information for, but
We're going back to the archivist.
The hills, not everything in the hills. What?
I don't know.
That is all they told you.
We're going back to the archivist.
And Sune.
Do you have your phone with you upstairs?
No, I did not. Although my phone was dead earlier, so actually, I know what I'll do.
She is the goddess of
You want me to Facebook you?
beauty.
Well, I have to change how I'm casting real quick.
Yeah, I would totally know. Yeah, okay. She's on.
Thanks, sister.
Mm-hmm.
I wonder if I because this is the person who remembers no shit and she didn't say it.
She's like, I can read.
Nice.
I think that is not a bad idea. I would also like to. I would like to return to the Merchant's Guild.
Okay. So where are you heading first? Are you splitting up?
Probably.
Remember, going with Sophie to the bookstore.
Yay, more new.
I'll go to the Merchant's Guild.
All right, we'll go ahead and do the archivist first. So
Elazar, right?
Elazar, yes.
Okay, Ellen.
I didn't even have that written down. I just remember that sweet name.
Aw, that's so cute. Okay, so you guys go ahead. I flip through all of my stuff.
My skirt's gonna be a convenient platform.
All right, sweet. All right. So you guys go ahead and head back to the archive, and you step in through the door. And as you walk in, remember would note that Elazar seems a little bit brighter than some people. He just seems like he makes you want to smile more. And Safine, he very happily comes up to you and he's like, "Hello again. Hi. What can I do for you?"
Hi, Elazar. Well, we were hoping to find some. Why is it wet on the side?
Oh, probably because I put it out of the dishwasher.
Oh, okay. Sorry, I was just like, unknown liquid. We were hoping to find some information on what lives in the hills, or any history.
Well, which hills?
The ones on this map.
Are there hills on this map?
Yeah.
Well, I suppose there's bears and there's the things that'll eat you and hold on. And he like goes puttering off and he's like, here's the hills around White Flag, here's the hills around, and he like just starts stacking geography books on the table, and it's just every city in Taseth, and then he suddenly goes into like Duran, and he goes into, and he's just like, all right, these are the hills. Which ones did you want?
All of them.
If I were to say, and I like you remember to say whatever it is that she learned.
Not everything in the hills is bad.
What does that mean? Anything?
And he like looks up at you and he's like kind of taking stock of like what you're not wearing, like how your hair is, and he's like, where are you from?
Did anything visually change? I don't
Burley.
remember.
She just has the blonde braid. Bleed. And he like shoves some of the geography books onto the floor and he's like, well, you have a monster in them. And he like is like going through the books, and then he slaps one on the table and he's like, don't you sacrifice people?
Only the convicts. You know, the murderers, the rapists, the treason, the ones who deserve to die.
Great. And he's like, okay, well,
It's called the Beast with Many Eyes. It lives in a cavern. Or a recess.
and then he like hands you one of the books and he's like, well, these are about that, I guess.
She like takes the book and is like, perfect. Sophie.
It takes it.
Okay. So going through this book is stories from, you realize, people who have fled Berlead. People who were convicted and branded and marked. But every single one of them that has this story about fleeing through the mountains only says that they were sacrificed to the one of many eyes. But then when they sign their name, they sign it the Unmarked. And it's just story after story about how they were bound and led to these caverns and left to die or left to be eaten, and how every single one of them, they don't clarify what happened. You have one that says, it was taken from me. You have another that says, I'll never be recognized. You have another that says, I am alive, is all it says.
So.
And it is dozens upon dozens of entries in this book.
What's
And
the most recent one?
The most recent one is less than 3 weeks old.
And they live here.
You don't know. It's just signed the Unmarked.
Have you ever seen the Beast of Many Eyes? Has anyone seen the Beast of Many Eyes?
No.
Not in living memory.
This is like some
They
How to Train
saw
Your
it.
Dragon shit where they're not
They
actually
lived
eating
to
people,
tell
they're just
about it.
changing them so they can have better life.
Maybe it's the innocent.
I mean, it could be their kids, I guess. Because you said they have colonies. Maybe they make them out there. It sounds like.
And Elazar has kind of just left you guys to like pour through this book, and he's like, you can hear him like moving stuff around. You hear him like chuckling to himself over something. It's like,
Listen,
Good luck that man.
the people who are marked in my country, they deserve death. They have done crimes which have made them unfit to live in our society. But it is not a death sentence. You are expelled, you are thrown to the desert, and if you survive, if you are able to survive, your free to leave. If we really want them dead, we truly have them marked. They don't walk away. If it is her will for them to go and they can survive, then they can start another life. It's just they cannot be with us and they cannot be of us anymore. But believe me, the people who are being marked, they're not people you want to walk away. They're not people you want to see survive and move on to another society. They've done the worst and most heinous crimes in Japan. This is not something we do lightly.
I'm sure you've had miscalculated judgments. We have those all the time. When an innocent is tried and found guilty. No system is perfect.
Perhaps, but has Sabine explained or remember what the book is?
Yeah, I would she would have just told you, explained what's going on.
Perhaps, but this is a number that is unconscionable. We don't mark that many. There aren't that many people in our society who choose to wrong us so deeply.
Eleazar, come translate!
And he comes puttering back in, and he's got a bowl of pretzels.
Oh.
He just kind of sets it on the table, and he's
I love this man.
and he's like, what are we looking at?
And I just thumb through some of the pages. This says that the most recent update is from 3 weeks ago.
And he looks at it, and he's like, and he thumbs through a couple of them. Yes, it does say that.
Do people come in here to make those entries? Is this a new book that you've received?
No, I've had this one for a few months. Few years. What's the date?
I tell him the date.
I've had this one for a while now. And he closes it back up again, and he's like, I don't know where they are, but I don't like that someone wrote in the book after I received it. I'll have to think about who asked for it. He's like, why are you writing in my books? They're here because they're archived. Once they're archived, you don't write in them anymore. I don't understand.
They're continuing their archive.
Sabine, if you ask him for the names, don't tell me.
Ooh.
I won't.
Sad.
Hours.
Eleazar, when you do find the names that have recently checked this book out, please give it to me in a sealed envelope. I'll repay you for the things you must get.
Very well. That sounds fine. Is there anything else I can help you with?
What do you know about people developing a sudden eye?
Tell us about Huron, because our fucking party members won't.
No, Adgord.
I mean,
Right?
yeah.
Is that where people are from?
From.
No, it's just they wonder why they don't know about us. They just don't pay attention.
What about new eyes?
You know, sometimes they just stand there, with their hands open into the sky, and then when they open their eyes, they suddenly have a third one.
Well, that sounds fascinating.
It's horrifying. But yes, fascinating's another word. I've heard it both ways.
Well, Adgord, you said? And he's like, And he putters off, and you see him go climb a bookshelf, and he kind of skims through a couple things, and he goes, and he grabs hold of a scroll and starts to pull it out, and then he slams it back in, grabs another one, and tosses it to the table, slowly shuffles down the ladder, and starts to climb the stairs, and he starts just sliding books down the stairs that kind of thump, 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 thump at the bottom until he comes back down and then hands you several books. They're not super big, but they're big enough. And they're all in the same beautiful, engraved leather book bindings. They have gold, edges on the pages. When he opens the first one, it's the most elaborate calligraphy for just that first letter that takes up almost half a page.
These bougie ass people.
He's like, well, these are about Adgord. What is it you're wanting to know?
I don't know what they're called.
Adgordians?
Right, I call them Gordies, but
Wow, that's racist.
everyone's a little bit racist. I guess on their religious perspectives, I don't remember what the one is called. I heard it talking about stars falling around or something. I don't know what that means.
Stars. That sounds like they're gods.
Great, that one.
Those.
Them's.
You want to know about all of their gods?
No, well, there's not one specifically about stars falling down.
And then he like kind of starts flipping through the book, and then he clears his throat and he's like, Alinar. And like you can see it's just like this big bold name, and there is a symbol at the top of the page, which is an open palm with gold stars that are raining down onto the words.
Eleanor, perfect.
That's not
Nailed
what
it.
the
Got a good
name
one.
is. Alinar. Alinar.
Eleanor.
Good job. And he's like, and he like hands you a pretzel.
I can do it too, Eleanor.
And he's like, good job, and hands you a pretzel. Wizards and sorcerers are as widely regarded as scholars, and the vast majority of those in such employ find their homes in one of the half a dozen temples scattered throughout the kingdom. That's only for Alinar, though. They have many more temples.
Doesn't say anything about sprouting an eye.
And he's like, eyes, eyes. And he like starts skimming through, and he's like, well,
This
Alan-
is all hypothetical, of course.
Alineo is the god of prophecy.
Alejandro got it.
And he like holds up a pretzel. Alineo.
Allie.
Alineo.
And he like hands you both a pretzel.
I got 2 pretzels. I got 2
And this one you can see it looks like a closed fist with an eye on the back of the fist.
Ah, perfect. That's the one.
Oracles wander the city. Oh, that's sad. Sleeping on the steps of the temples or being invited into homes. And he kind of pauses and he's like, why are they homeless? So silly. Those with a tattooed third eye were previously members of the Order of Alinar. Those with a painted eye were not, and are sometimes regarded as liars and con artists. So, it sounds like the gods are connected? They have so many of them. And he like starts flipping through and just like reading the names off.
I know he taught me the real names, but all I can think is Eleanor and Alejandro. Alane and Aleneo.
Alineo.
So I've learned all about your gods LMFAO today. That's great. Like,
I'm
cool.
educated.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, if someone were to sprout an eye, hypodermically speaking, as my friend Remember says, is there anything on that? Like a physical eyeball coming out of that bitch right there?
No, there's nothing here about growing an eye. That sounds uncomfortable.
You would think, right? Well,
This is hypothetically?
right.
And he's like staring at your forehead.
Oh no, not me. Not
No.
me, hypothetically.
No. And then he like looks at Remember.
No.
She just like moves her hair side. Like,
Would you like to see that though?
Do I get to write about it?
Not yet.
Oh.
I think I don't have licensing over this person.
yet.
Well, you've been extremely helpful,
In which
Lazar.
Sabine becomes our PR manager.
She's the alcoholic,
We
like.
still don't even have a name yet for our group.
I know.
Gotta fix that.
Well, I'm going to drop a gold in Elazar's hand and give him a pat on the shoulder.
And he's like, oh, thank you. And he gives you 2 pretzels.
Infinite pretzel loop. I'm so excited. Elazar, is there anything you need done before we leave?
And he's like looking around and everything is dusty. Like things are kind of shoved here and there. And he goes, No, it's fine.
Are you sure? Do you need like firewood or?
No, I have some. Thank you.
Okay, it's time to go. I got
And
my
he's
armor
just
to
like-
pick up.
He's just like looking up at Remember. He's like, no, and like it's clear that like things are in horrible disarray here. Whatever he focuses his attention on is not keeping the place tidy.
She like puts one book back on the shelf and makes sure it's like standing up straight, and then she like nods before they head out.
He like opens the door and hands her a pretzel on the way out.
4 pretzels.
I'm gonna go
He
get
just-
my armor now.
All right. Let's pop over to Angarod and Temzin, who went to where?
I would like to go to the Merchants Guild and the Lightsmen, if that's
Yeah.
amenable to you.
We will do Merchants Guild, and then we can pop back to
I was
Safina,
learning things
remember.
about the hills, okay? Oh wait, did I get my letter of like people who wrote down in his books?
Not yet, no.
He's gotta look at it.
Yeah, he's got to like.
Come on, snap to it.
As we're
He's an old man.
Walking.
yeah.
There's no way to avoid it.
That's less pencils, more writing names down.
All right.
As we're walking, I'm just kind of through my veil, just kind of peeking out, seeing what I can see, seeing what's new,
Mhm.
what strikes me, who stands out to me.
The way that it will look is if you held like a gauzy thing over half of like one of your eyes. That's kind of how your vision looks right now. Is things are a bit distorted and a bit warped because your vision is permanently affected by this.
Nice.
So
By the veil or just by the eye?
no, you have another eye. So
Yeah.
like if you were to like cover an eye, like you can still see, but like half of your vision is off. So like it made it so that you can see like higher up kind of. It's very odd for you.
Okay.
But you'd be able to walk and see where you're going. But yeah.
And in terms of like auras and stuff, what am I seeing?
You see that everyone seems to have one. Some are brighter than others, some are darker than others. Like no one seems to really have the same color, but that's kind of what you see going through town.
Okay. Am I getting any other kind of emotional connection to the auras, or is it just color?
Just color. One thing you would note is that the people in your party seem to have much brighter auras than the people that you're passing. No matter how like bright they are, that as you pass them, like you realize that like Remembers and Safines and Temzins, they're all much brighter than what you're seeing right now. All right.
Are we gonna pass the Temple of the Whisper on our way to where we're going?
Where are we going? No, we're going here, right?
You're going to the Merchants Guild.
We're
Yeah.
coming from the farm.
Yeah.
Would we pass it?
No, you would not.
Are we passing any other kind
Well,
of
actually, you kind of would, because you'd come from the north, you'd come around whichever side, and then you'd have to go up that middle there.
Yeah. Just looking over in that direction, if I can see anybody going in or coming out, or anybody in the windows or anything. What do they look like?
You do see someone passing through. What is his name? Hold on. As I get there. Dalen. You see a half-elf. Kind of.
I didn't realize that's who you were going for. I would have said.
Yeah, you see a half-elf gentleman come out of this building. Now, you aren't aware that this is the temple. Like,
Okay.
it looks just like, kind of like a church. There's that graveyard out back, so it looks like the kind of place where people go to, like, have weddings or bury their dead and, like, that kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
But you do notice that this half-elf gentleman that comes out, and he kind of, like, goes on his way. He doesn't even look your way. He doesn't even glance at you or Tenzin as you guys go past. That he's also glowing fairly brightly.
Okay.
Okay. So you guys go ahead and you get into the Merchants Guild.
Oh, okay, never mind.
Oh, did you want to do something?
Well, Tamsin was gonna talk to her, but that's alright.
Oh, no, go ahead.
Are you cool?
Mhm.
Okay. So while they're walking, Tenzin There's probably gonna be a little bit of time pass while they're just walking. And then Tez
How about the bears?
is... Angrad, what is it like?
It is like, I do not know if you've ever had magic quite traditional, or if you've ever had anything clarified for you in such a way that you couldn't see the same as you ever did before. But it is incredible. It is a deep connection that I did not think I would have. And I can't go back from it.
I've never heard of such a thing happening in Atmore.
I have set many precedents in that. I have been the first in many ways. But even this is strange.
That you could say, yeah.
It's also going to make doing my makeup incredibly difficult.
It might take a little bit more time, but you seem pretty good at it.
How do you do a wing cyclops?
Double wing. Double wing on the eye.
Just 2 wings and then 2 wings.
Yeah.
It is a blessing. What of you? You seem to have some deep ties, but I do not know exactly who to.
Well, not so much to Adgor, no. I went there when I was a little bit older. And that was when I joined the monks. And I spent my life there until I left. So I'm very accustomed to society and the culture and the gods, and what's happened with you is very interesting.
It is a word for it.
But as much as I believe in the gods of Adgord, as I must now, I serve fate.
You serve fate.
Yes. Wait, did the king say that? No, he didn't know when fate spoke to the king. He said it was just...
I cannot remember the exact phrasing.
I can't remember. I didn't remember if the king mentioned fate or not. I didn't think he did though. But I couldn't remember. That's why I was checking. If she would have heard that.
I think he heard your name.
Yeah, I think he just heard my name.
Yeah, he heard your name and then he
saw like red or
was
something like that.
yeah, and everything was red, and then when
Okay,
he
yeah,
woke
never
up,
mind.
he had that mark on his arm.
Right. Yeah. So
You serve
I said fate.
How interesting. So you consider it your duty to uphold.
Now I do. But up until recently, it wasn't so much a duty. It was more so what I did because that's what I was taught to do. But recently, fate has, you could say, has made it clear that I am to serve it. As I think the other gods have made themselves apparent to some of the rest in our group.
It seems we are all called to a higher purpose.
I would guess so. I mean, first the king having dreams and visions, and now the gods themselves connecting with us.
It's incredibly strange.
Very bizarre. I've never heard of such a thing. But at the same time, it gives me hope that we will go where we're supposed to go and do what we're supposed to do. And whatever might try to stop us won't succeed.
And I said, I hope it is too.
Yes. Well, we'll see what fate does.
Not good. As we're coming up towards the Merchant's Guild, I'm just going to take a long rest. I'm going to cast Disguise Self. And if I remember closely enough, anybody, just kind of somebody random that I saw yesterday when we were in there, just so they don't look out of place. Like somebody who looked like they were passing in and out. I don't want to really talk to anybody. I just want to go in and look.
Okay.
So I'll do that. Tamsin, you are more than welcome to come in with me if you would like. I don't know exactly what I am looking for, but it is more of a mission of trying to see than anything else.
I understand. I will join you.
Okay. So I'm just gonna go in casually, kind of stroll in, see if anybody draws my eye in terms of being bright.
You go in, and what strikes you is it's not that people are bright, it's that the place is. Like, to the point where no one aura stands out.
Is it centralized or is it just the whole building?
It's the whole building.
Do I see the Merchant's Guild symbol anywhere? Walls, any doors?
It's on a plaque above the door.
Does it have a door?
Same as the rest of, like, this whole place is.
Just glowing.
It's like, yeah, it's kind of shining.
Has any other building stood up, like laughing to me?
No.
Okay. I'm gonna just kind of step into a corner. Oh, I don't have the landlord, do I? Shit. I'm gonna look at the stones, but I don't have them. Damn it.
Oh yeah, we have in the metal or the iron
Yeah.
box
So damn it. Okay.
or bag. We need a little iron bag, right?
Does there seem to be like, are people disappearing into a certain part of the building that doesn't necessarily look like it should hold that many people? Like, it doesn't look like there are any secret passages, secret entryways to anything else.
No, from what you can see, it just looks like it's people are going about their business. You see Lydia kind of talking to a few people, scribbling in a book, and sending them on their way, just similarly to what you saw yesterday.
Okay. Just gonna kind of step up next to someone of like medium importance. Not somebody who looks like they're doing a huge amount of work right now, but just whoever's in the crowd.
I'm not sure. Go ahead and do an investigation check to try and figure out who that might be.
Okay. 7.
You really can't tell. You're not familiar. You're familiar with Advord's businesses. You're familiar with someone wearing brighter colors, more lavish clothes, having, bigger hair, bigger makeup, a louder voice. You're not used to, like, Lydia's dressed almost the same as everybody else. Like, you're not, it's such a difference for you that you really can't pick out who might be in any kind of position of authority.
Okay. Then I'm just gonna kind of make it look like I'm distracted in some way, like I'm either reading something or something like that, and then look up. walk up next to somebody while doing that, and then look up at whoever I happen to land next to. I'm not super picky, as long as it's not Lydia.
Okay. You come up next to a human woman who has her hair bound back in a knot at the nape of her neck, and she has just a linen dress on, a colorful vest over it, and like her shoes kind of click against the floor as she like turns and is like just double checking things, and she's got a small book in her hand that she's like scribbling a few notes down in, and she glances over at you. May I help you?
I was just gonna comment on the interesting day that we're having.
Yes?
It's been a good one. I've seen a lot of prosper in my business. It's been good. The gods have blessed us.
If you say so.
You do not agree?
Not much room for gods here. Sorry, I have work to do. Have a good day.
Don't let me bother you.
And she, like, kind of glances your way again and, like, takes a few steps away and, like, goes back to scribbling and writing in her ledger.
Okay.
You were just rude to a random person for like 5 minutes. What did you give it? Like, what were you aiming for?
I was aiming for casual side conversation, but that's not what happened. She gave me a full attention.
She was just like, hey, how about them gods? Am I right? And the guy was like, later.
I'm just saying, like, just walking around, am I hearing any discussion of any gods kind of happening, or is it all just...
It's just commerce and trade and, you know, well, we might get a higher price for this, or we gotta sell this, like, and get rid of stores of this, and oh, I think that this might be coming through, and, like, those are really the only snippets that you're getting.
Okay.
Like, you hear a couple that are like, oh, I hear this, like, you know, Sophia's wanting more tin, like, so-and-so needs more of this, and so-and-so needs more of that, and so, like, this is the merchants guilds for Taseth, so that's what they do here.
Okay. We'll go back to Tenzin. I did not find what I was hoping to find, but it was interesting, nonetheless. Have you heard anything, seen anything noteworthy?
Did I see or hear anything? Perception check.
Go ahead.
19.
There's really not anything of note to pick up. The only thing that you might overhear would be Lydia discussing in hushed tones the sparkling segbite that you warned her about the other day.
Anything particular about the
Nothing.
people she was whispering it to?
No, they just looked like they were employees.
Okay. I convey that to you.
Alright. I do not have any other business here. I just wanted to see.
Okay.
Alright, well, we can carry on then.
Back to Safine, and remember, heading towards the blacksmith shop.
I don't remember anything about this armor. What it's supposed to do for me.
Wow. Let me get there. Okay. Alright, so you go ahead and enter the yard, and Sylvia is there, and she is sharpening a sword. And she's got her whetstone out, and she kind of glances up, and as soon as she, like, takes her eyes away from the sword, she, like, pulls her hands back and, like, has them up, like she's been told, you don't touch a sword if you don't look at it. And so she's, like, got her hands up, and she's like, oh, hi again, I'll go get my mom. And then she, like, holds the sword, but she holds it, like, point down away from her body as she marches it inside, and she's like, Mom! And so Sophia comes out, and she kind of brushes her hands off, and she nods to remember, and she kind of, like, would you be wearing your armor today? And she sees that there's, like, a dent in your armor, and she, like, frowns at you for a minute, and then she's like, all right, your armor's done. And you paid in advance, right?
Yeah, I already paid for it.
And so she brings out, she's like, all right, just stand there for a minute. Let me just make sure that it fits. And she like heads inside and brings out this plate mail. And she goes ahead and she starts, like dressing you up into it. And she's like, yeah, this will fit fairly well. It's my dinosaur.
We have a pet pterodactyl.
He's my dinosaur.
It's a great Valerian.
That was a bird noise. That wasn't a car feeling turnover.
I call him Harry because he's got feathers. He's my dinosaur. Sorry.
Very good.
And so she, gets you into the plate mail. And she's like, all right, go ahead and take a lap, see if it fits well. Or that.
Walks around.
Is that going to be comfortable enough with your robes?
Should be fun.
All right.
We could've
Hope
used
you-
that earlier.
Yeah.
Hope you don't mind, but some of the leather ties here, and she's like pointing them out. She's like, they're kind of blue, but it was the only color I had left, so. I mean, it looks nice. It adds a little pop of color, but. And she's just like appraising her work.
It's great.
You. Do.
I need this changed.
She's like, just.
Anything else.
And she like unties it. She like gets you out of this, and she's like, Sylvia, can you go over to the tanner and just get a couple strips of leather? And she's
I'll
like,
pay extra for it.
she's like, yeah, and she like goes off running. No, I'm sorry about that. It was my own fault. I should have had it done before you got here, but some people don't mind, some people do. Again, my apologies. I'll have that fixed in just a minute. And she like takes it back into the workshop. Sylvia comes running back. She's got like a length of leather streaming behind her like a ribbon. She like snaps it as she runs in the door. And then she comes back out with your plate mail, and those strips have been
And
tied.
she's like drumming on the countertop, like, oh my god, let's just go home.
And then when she brings it back out and presents it to you, it's like you got the same matching brown leather ties that everything does.
Sylvia,
Yes!
is your mother teaching you how to use the weapons that you craft?
Not yet, because I almost cut my toe off.
Maybe you can start with this. I'm gonna give her the dagger that we took off that fool in the cave.
She's like, Mom, am I allowed? And she's like, we'll dull it for you.
It's
Thank-
small. She won't be able to hurt herself, mostly.
Children can drown in an inch of water. Come on. And she's like going over and immediately like starting to dull the blade and blunt it so that her daughter doesn't stab herself.
That's alright, it builds character. This scar, I got when I was 6.
I don't.
Sylvia, we're gonna wrap this too.
I don't remember how much the plate mail was supposed to.
It was 20 gold.
No, I don't remember what the stats were on it.
Ah.
Like I don't remember what it's supposed to change my AC to.
Yeah, let me see. $18.
Yay, I got
Ooh,
4 points. I like how Sabine's response is, it's great. I need this changed immediately.
Now, you do get a disadvantage on stealth.
Aww.
Plate armor isn't, like, slender.
I feel like
I'm trying to remember why you wanted plate armor.
I
But
don't
that's,
think I did. That's the problem.
I've got plate mail written down.
Yeah, I mean,
I
paid
have
for it,
scale mail. I have scale mail for Remember, crossbow bolts, and dog armor for Temzin, and plate mail for Safine. Do you want lighter armor?
Yeah. I don't remember. I honestly, it's my own fault because I can't remember what I ordered in the first place. Or what the purpose was behind it. I just wanted to stop. I didn't want to only have an AC of 14.
Yeah, I'll do a double check.
I mean, I have a +2 to stealth, so I guess I could go really badly, but we can just leave it for now and we can fix it another time. Or I can buy more and sell this way.
Maybe you can remove a couple of the plates, reduce the AC that it protects you, and
Put some bubbles instead.
We can discuss it afterwards and
I'm not
retcon
worried.
what kind of armor it is if you want.
Yeah, I'm not worried about it.
Okay. All right. So then y'all did that. Let's go ahead and pop back to Tenzin and Angarod. What were y'all up to again?
Lightmen, right?
Lightman, I think, is the good place to go from here.
Mm-hmm. What is the contact's name?
I will tell you. Fiona is the cousin of Skamos, who works in the money lender.
Okay. So we're going from the inner circle outwards, correct, Sarah?
Yeah.
The exchange, that's a big market, right, in the circle?
The exchange. Yeah, that's a big market. It's not like super big, but it's a lot of the like finer items and stuff like that.
Okay. Are there places that sell, like... Did you do something for your head?
I just made like a crude veil.
Is there a place that has, like, nice scarves and stuff?
Yeah, absolutely.
Is there one that has colors that matches Angarad's outfit?
Yeah, you definitely find that there.
Okay, I'm gonna run and grab it and buy it real quick.
Okay. It's actually Lily who sells it to you.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Nice.
and she slips you a little piece of paper with it as you get this scarf.
Okay.
And as you
Call me.
as you walk away, you realize it's her address.
Send me an owl.
Okay.
Who was this?
Lily, the jeweler that he flirted with real heavily a while back.
I'll be back, perhaps, with some new jewelry if you're interested. He
Oh,
said,
yes.
He says that, obviously, during it, and then he leaves.
And she waves.
Okay, and he's like, folds it nicely, like, tucks it into, like, his, somewhere. He tucks it into a pocket somewhere. And then he runs up, here you go, Angrod.
Oh, Tenzin, this is lovely. Thank you.
You're welcome. I figured they have the best stuff here, and I thought it would look good, and I didn't want you to feel uncomfortable, and it's not a big deal.
That is very sweet of you. Thank you so much, Tenzin.
I just kind of turning away from everyone, gonna find a little alleyway and switch out into the new one.
It's a little bit warm.
Yeah, I feel like is it not as cold outside?
It's not as cold as yesterday, no.
Yeah, it's only like 63. I mean, it's still nice, but... What was I gonna say? You can only cast the sky so many times, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's kind of...
Yeah.
You want to be helpful.
Yeah. Speaking of, it's probably still up.
Mm.
It usually lasts for an hour. Yeah, so. But still, good to have that. Yeah. So on our way to Lightman, I'm just gonna keep my eyes, all three of them, open. As we're walking in that direction, I can't see the map from here.
Yeah, it's up here. Lightman's up here.
Yeah, so we're
So
walking
we come
past.
out and come up around.
Actually, aren't we walking past the bee's knees doing that?
Yes, we are, because the bee's knees is right here.
Tight. Just gonna look in through the windows of the bee's knees. Does anything stand out to me?
It's definitely glowing.
Hi. Tenzin, do you want to...
What the heck? Please stop.
Yikes.
What is it doing? We're just gonna not cast that for a little while.
The cast might be getting hot. So
Yeah.
It might be lagging. Do you want me to play for it?
Yeah, I'll just play the music on there.
Go
It's
ahead.
fine.
You're good. Do you feel like maybe stepping inside for a moment?
I do believe I have a necklace to pick up in here.
I don't think it would hurt. We might as well.
Step inside of me and I'll go ahead and drop disguise self because he knows me as me, right?
No. You disguised your. No, wait, did you disguise yourself or just give a false name?
I didn't think so. I think I just gave a false name.
Okay. So you drop disguise self and
Hold on.
step in.
And then I think I did disguise myself when we came in to do the heist.
Okay.
But I didn't. No, because he knew me.
For the necklace?
Yeah.
So you just gave a false name. Okay.
Did you get the necklace under the false name?
Hold on. Give me 2 seconds and I can tell you. I'm sorry.
Okay. So then you probably just had the false name.
Yeah, it was probably just.
Okay. So you step in, and Wilcom is busy polishing a silver candlestick, and he kind of smiles at you a little bit as you step in. And he's, "Oh, good morning."
Good morning, Madame Jones. I believe you have something for me.
I do. I hope it suits you. And he goes back and he withdraws a small box, and he opens it up to reveal the necklace that you ordered. It was a necklace, right? So he reveals the necklace that you ordered, and it's beautiful. It's set very immaculately. The stone is brilliant, and the whole thing is just very, very lovely. So,
Not this one, right?
no.
That's right. I'll take some home if not.
Does he look?
He does. Not as strongly as you four, but similarly to the Merchants Guild.
Does the building though?
No.
Looking. Has this been something like? Do I have to visually see things to get the glow from it? Or if something was on the next floor up, would I be able to see that from where I was standing?
No. You just see what's around you.
Okay. My key is. Okay.
Thank you for such a clarifying confirmation.
I appreciate that you put this much time into it as you did.
Well, I thank you for your patronage. And he boxes it up and wraps it in some paper.
Glance around the room. Has anything significantly changed since last time?
No, I don't see anything that's changed. Society was very intimate with the place.
No, it's
Okay.
very.
You do not strike me as one who has been here your whole life.
No, not my whole life. I came from one of the smaller towns back east, but White Flag is where my crafts brought me, and so here I am.
That is wonderful. Do you share this craft with your family?
No, my family is not here.
It is a shame. You do beautiful work. I am sure you honor them.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Will there be anything further?
Thank you for your time.
Of course. If you need anything, please do not fail to come see me.